This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is a Tuesday afternoon, and that means it's time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn.
Hey, hi, everybody. Welcome
to John DiNallo.
No John DiNallo, that's right. For those of you watching us live or on YouTube, you'll see there's just Karen Hale and myself, Paul Seaburn, on What in the World today. I was adjusting my, I don't know how early you pick up the video feed. I'm busy adjusting my chair, but I apologize for that. It's listen on the podcast for the first 2 minutes and then switch over to the photo.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. John is on assignment. That sounds official, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
I'm hoping he's on assignment. I don't know. he's I'm not going to spoil it where he's at, but he may bring some interesting things back next week when he comes back. So I'm hoping that he does. I know he's having a good time because it's a historical thing. And for those of you who are regular listeners, you know that John's a huge history buff, huge trivia buff. So this is a fun trip for him. But anyway, he's going to miss out because unfortunately, as our regular listeners know, John's a big Bigfoot skeptic, and I've got some great Bigfoot stuff for us today.
Good for you. Yes.
So rub it in. I'll send it to him later. But so thank you for showing up this week for What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news podcast. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. We're here every week on NewClevelandRadio.net. That's our platform. Karen Hale is our media mogul and producer and co-host, and we always appreciate her being here. Check us out on NewClevelandRadio.net. Go across the top of the page. There's a drop-down menu for shows. You can click on mine, find out all the places where you can download it or watch on YouTube. Please like us, follow us, do all those cool things, and that gives us a good idea of who's watching and listening to the podcast. And while you're there, take a look at some of the other great podcasts that Karen has. We were just discussing before the show that she's adding new podcasts. She's got some interesting guests on some of the current podcasts, so it's always fun to take a look at some other things. But excuse me, right here, today you're here for What in the World?
Yes, we are.
All of our weird news come from around the world. I get time. These are real stories. They are from my many news sources from around the world. Northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, east, west, you name it. We even leave the planet sometimes and go out into space for our story, but they are real. Just because they're strange, it doesn't mean anybody's making them up. Some of them, I'm a pretty creative guy. I couldn't make this stuff up. So that's what I love about looking.
I don't know about that, because when it comes to Bluff the co-host, you make up some pretty good stories.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So we won't have sports today, but thank you, Karen, for that plug. We will have Bluff the co-host at the end of the show. So please stay tuned for that. I'll mention my daytime job. I am the editor and head writer at mysteriousuniverse.org, where some of the more paranormal, stranger stories come from. In fact, a couple of the ones that we're going to be talking about today that are really interesting, I wanted to share and elaborate some more on the podcast. So anyway, you're here for some weird news. We've got some great weird news. A former Clevelander may have found a Bigfoot skull in Canada. Biggest news of the week for the weird news world. So we're going to talk about that. And he's from Cleveland, so we got to support our local guys. Dave Davies from the Kinks, one of my all-time favorite bands. Dave Davies has a new autobiography out, and in it he talks about getting kinky, with space aliens. So we're going to talk about that. Excuse me. Giant snails are shutting down a city in Florida. This is scary and weird. We're going to find out more about that. Toads are climbing trees in England. Didn't know that toads climb trees? They do. And this is a new thing. Who knows? It might be some mutant toads. A man. Then on to the even weirder stories. A man in Japan has turned his aching feet into a hobby. So we'll find out how he did that. If you have aching feet, this may be for you. A goat, GOAT, greatest of all time. There we go. I had to think for a second. A goat in Pakistan made the news. We're going to find out why this particular goat is the greatest goat of all time. What else? More odd news and trivia. No sports this week, but and I don't think I have any sports stories. But of course, Bluff the co-host at the end of the show. So please stay tuned for that. Let's get right to it, Karen, with our first story: the giant snails. Oh, and I do have a photo, so I'm going to warn you ahead of time. Karen doesn't always like my weird animals,
hey,
but
I can close my eyes.
I know this is unbelievable. These giant snails. These are snails the size of rats. Now, this, and not little rats, but not the ones, the pet rats. These are the big giant sewer rats. So
Oof.
Giant, yeah. Let's while I'm talking about it, let's take a look at one of these guys. So here, this is a
wow,
giant snail on a person's hand. It completely covers the palm of their hand. So, and these are not your dining snails.
Yeah, this doesn't look like an escargot at all.
No, this is a the reason why they're concerned about these giant snails in Florida is because they carry parasites which can cause meningitis, which is a terrible spinal disease. So the lungworm is what causes it. So these snails have been confirmed in the city of Port Richey, Florida. I'm not sure where that's at, but it's in Florida. They're all over the place. People are talking about going out into their yard and finding 10, 20, up to 50 of these snails in their garden, on their house, on their car, all over the place. So we're all rejoicing because we're finally coming out of COVID confinement. These poor people are confined because of these stupid giant snails, which someone released as a pet or a pet they didn't like, and now they're all over the place. So the officials say they're in quarantine. The people of the city are in quarantine for 2 years. Now, it's a special quarantine. They're banned from moving plants around outside, moving soil, yard waste, debris, compost, and building materials. So they have to keep all of that stuff confined in the city so that they don't spread it outside.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is as I mentioned, this is a special kind of quarantine just for these snails, and it even has its own special name. It's called the escargot. So yeah, I mean it's a in a way, Karen, and those of you that are watching, it looks like it's kind of a cute, in a weird sort of way, creature.
Yeah.
Although the person who's holding it has a latex glove on.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like to see exactly how much slime these snails leave behind them, because they're huge, they're massive. So little more, I didn't realize this. They were talking about the damage that these snails cause. They eat stucco and paint. And if you've been to Florida,
they're all houses are stucco. Yeah.
So they eat stucco and paint, but they won't join the painters union for some reason. So the painters hate them. Best way to kill them.
So they do almost as much damage as a termite then.
Easily.
Yeah.
Plus, and I think they're messier if you step on one. The termites, you can at least step on them or spray them. You can't. The only way to kill these, what you do is you take a photograph of a giant tub of butter and you hold it in front of them, and that scares them to death. Or maybe a giant salt shaker. I don't know. I'm not sure if salt kills them. Everybody wants to know, can you eat them? Turns out that even the ones with the parasites, although they say you shouldn't eat them, if you cook them to 165 degrees, that should kill the parasites. But the CDC says you really shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
If you have a hankering for giant snails, believe it or not, there are people who raise them just for food. They feed them like oats and vegetables and stuff like that. That's organic. So they don't, and they make sure they don't have parasites.
Sure.
Best way to prepare giant snails, Karen, in a slow cooker. Oh, what Bigfoot
Oh,
says, I know. Big,
oh.
I agree with you on that one, Bigfoot. Hopefully, those jokes will get better as we go on in the show. So that's our story. The giant snail, the size of rats, shut down a
Yeah,
city in Florida. How terrible is that?
that
Now,
is pretty.
a couple more. I'm going to warn you, Karen, and everybody out there. A couple more animal stories here. This one is interesting. I'll take that picture down. I know Karen's tired of staring at the giant snail. So there's you can get a job doing anything. You know, people always say, "Oh, there's all kind of jobs." You know, people just don't want them. Okay, well, here's a job from England that I don't know if I would want. There are people who get hired to survey dormice and bats. Okay, so
Ooh.
yeah, I guess they go out into the woods and they count how many dormice and bats they see. Um, so this group of people are out there in the woods in England looking for dormice and bats, and instead, in between 5 and 10 feet up in trees, they're finding toads, regular toads that have somehow learned how to climb trees. This is completely unusual. Toads like to be on the ground, underneath stuff. They've never seen them in trees before, in like cavities and on branches, up to 10 feet high. So they're shocked. The biologists are coming in, they're checking it all out. One of the toads they found, this was the thing that really amazed me. One of the toads had a deformed foot, which made it a three-toed tree toad.
Oh.
And not only that, but the biologist picked it up, put it in his pickup truck, which was parked illegally. So everybody standing around saw the three-toed tree toad get towed.
Should have
Big,
known.
Bigfoot says, please, no more. But wait, there's more. You know where they impounded the truck? They impounded it in Tremont. That means the three-toed tree toad was towed to Tremont.
Hey, you got your writing in this week.
Oh my God, that was I was trying to. There was nothing funny about this story. I said, well, there's got to be a pun in here somewhere, and there was not just one, but many puns. And then they're looking for dormice, and it's everybody knows what the dormouse said: feed your head. But if these were psychedelic snake toads, this would be the Jefferson Airplane would have to rewrite it. It would be remember what the dormouse hunter said: feed your head with these toads. Not quite as funny as the three-toed tree toad, but
yes.
Okay, another story here. This one you'll like, Karen. Everybody who's a fan of the show knows how much I love monkeys. I'm a huge monkey fan. This monkey story comes from Boise, Idaho. So you already know it's not a native monkey.
Right.
I don't believe there's no monkeys there's any monkeys in Boise. Let's take a look at. I'm sorry, we're going to put the snake up over here. The snail. Here we go. So here's the monkey. This monkey is at the Zoo Boise. That's what they call the zoo there. It's a spider monkey. Now, very unusual spider monkey. This spider monkey came to the zoo when it was 2 years old in 1973, which makes this spider monkey 60 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. He looks pretty good, doesn't he, Karen?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. Spider monkeys got to get the name because they have very long arms and legs. I don't have a picture of his legs stretched out, but arms, when they talk about knuckle draggers, the spider monkeys are perfect if they could walk, but they don't. They hang from trees by their arms and legs and their tail, which is like a fifth arm or leg. They normally only live 20 to 40 years. So this guy has exceeded his lifespan by an extra 20 years. Very active, according to the zoo. He still swings around in the trees. They had to put handrails on some of the branches, but for being 60 years old, he gets around really well. Although his vision's going, so his tire swing, they had to take the keys away from that. But other than that, he's doing really well. His name is
pretty
Elvis.
blue eyes.
Pardon?
He has pretty blue eyes.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
They're very alert. There's a little cupcake there for him, a little present. His name is Elvis. Elvis the spider monkey. They didn't say why they named him Elvis, although the rumor is that he used to howl at night, and the female monkeys around him would throw their poo at him, like they used to throw panties at Elvis. So anyway, the story of Elvis the spider monkey. I couldn't find a good song that an Elvis song that would go with spider monkeys.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know, yeah. Don't
But
hurt your brain, Karen.
maybe we should go see the new Elvis movie, and then we would have music for it.
Hold that thought, because we've got another Elvis. If I have some time, we have
Ooh.
another Elvis story coming up later. Now, this was another fun story that for those of you who are listening, you can follow me on Facebook, and every once in a while I'll post some of these stories on Facebook as well and try out some of the jokes. This one came from Facebook. An artist in Japan. He's a manga artist, which is kind of like a cartoon painting type of artist. He spent a whole, this is the guy with the foot problem. He spent a whole year removing gravel and small objects out of the soles of his sneakers. He would walk to the convenience store in his neighborhood because he was under quarantine like everybody else.
Sure.
And he'd come back and find all these stones and pieces of glass and pieces of metal in his shoes. So being the artist that he was, he decided to collect them. So here's his collection. This is just the stones that he collected in his shoes.
Wow.
He ended up with 179 pebbles in just 1 year, and the pathway between his house and this convenience store, this Japanese 7-Eleven and back. 32 pieces of glass. He also mounted them. He did this. He's seriously into this, everybody. He's mounted it in a nice display format on a grid. I'm surprised he didn't label them, like what day it was that he found it. And one nut, which I thought was like a walnut or something, which would cause a limp, but it was like a nut on a bolt kind of nut.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So he did this for a year, and now the year is up, and he's getting out of it. And his wife is really upset because now she has to remind him to wipe his feet when he comes in. Because before he says he used to use toothpicks to pick the stones and glass out of his shoe. Wow. And he said he had to be careful because sometimes he would get very overactive and they would get mixed up with back on the road again, and he wouldn't know which one was the stone he just picked out. I know, yeah. It's so it's not easy. And I can't imagine doing something like this in Cleveland, because you walk in the street in Cleveland, you're going to break an ankle in the pothole before you get any stones in your shoes. Yeah. So I don't know where all those stones go.
And the only thing you get on the bottom of your shoes is that crumbled blacktop that they tried to patch the street with.
Oh, that's right. We should do a show just on that, because that's the most mysterious substance known to man. No one really knows what that stuff is and why they do it. It doesn't really work.
No.
Yeah. So he felt bad about losing some of the stones. And I thought, who's going to know? Pick one up and stick it on your little card. But apparently he wants to follow the rules, because he heard that that's how the stones got into the rock hall.
Oh.
Poor Bigfoot. I know he didn't like that one. I'd be more impressed if he collected stones from inside his shoe, where those irritating ones that you get inside your shoe. And which reminded me of something that happened to me recently. I had something in my shoe, and I was in a place where I couldn't get at it until, like for maybe about a half an hour. So it's there, and I'm trying to figure out what the heck is in my shoe. And I finally got to the place where I could take my shoe off and look in there. And what do I find but a quarter? There was a quarter in my shoe.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were rich.
yeah, I was rich. That's right. For a time. But how did a quarter get in my shoe? That's what I'm trying to figure out. It's one of two things happen. Either when I was hanging my pants up, it fell out of my pants and into the shoes that were on the floor. Or the tooth fairy has a partner, the toenail fairy, who goes through my shoes and finds loose
Yeah.
toenails, and he must have found one of those big ones and left me a quarter for it.
Hey.
Yeah, yeah. So so they asked this guy, this artist, what he's gonna do, and he says he thinks he's gonna keep on going for a little while. He changed his mind, but he's he's bored, so he's gonna separate his collection between right shoe and left shoe.
Oh no.
this, I'm sure his wife says, I'm sure she's telling him, get a job, go
Yeah.
to the convenience store and see if they'll hire you, and stay
Good
there all
idea.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Or go collect something else, chewing gum or something. Although I don't know how that'd be kind of messy. So anyways, okay, so let's take this down here and go back to England. This was a fun story. I'm going to have to put a picture back up in a second. This is in Taunton, England. I'm not sure where that's at. Woman was seen crossing the street. Yeah, I guess I have to put the picture back up again here. Seen crossing the street with a leash. Very strange leash. On the end of the leash was a banana. Now, you can see this picture, Karen, and everybody who's watching
Yep.
on YouTube. The long leash, but not real long. And she's dragging the banana across a busy street in beautiful downtown Taunton. Police officer stops her and asks her for an ID. She pulls out an ID, but while she pulled out an ID, the banana split. So Bigfoot doesn't even want. Bigfoot's not even getting up to make a noise for that.
John sure is missing this today. Wow.
So he asked her what she was doing, and she says she's taking care of it because the previous owner abandoned it. In other words, she was the banana's foster.
Oh.
Get it?
I got it. Banana's foster, yes.
I'm saying that to everybody else out there in podcast land, Karen. Karen gets all of them.
No, not really.
That's why they asked her. The cop said, well, why are you dragging a banana instead of a dog? And she said she heard bananas were more appealing. So
they are. Yes.
She sings to it while she walks it. The favorite song of the banana is Deo by
Belafonte.
Harry Belafonte. Thank
Yep.
you. Deo, daylight comes. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me bananas. There's the line everybody remembers. The Banana Boat song.
Right.
What movie? John's not here. I'll see if Karen can provide us with a trivia answer here. What movie was that song made famous in?
Was it South Pacific?
Pardon? Oh,
South
no, this is
no.
more recent. A comedy
recent.
movie. But by more
Oh.
recent, we're talking about like maybe over 30 years ago.
Oh.
I'll give you a hint. Michael Keaton was the star of the movie. Well before Batman.
I'm lost.
Everybody in podcast land is screaming, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Okay. Well, I want you to know that one of the news stations on the weekend talked about this same thing.
Oh, no kidding. The banana?
It was
kidding.
at the.
They stole it from us again. Here we are. They're stealing from the poor podcast.
Yeah.
How about that?
Because
Well,
I
I
even
guess
said to my husband, did we just see that? And he goes, yeah, we did.
There you go. See, now, Karen, that's perfect proof that all of these stories are real.
Absolutely.
If it's picked up by the mainstream media, it must be real. But Harry Belafonte, God bless him, is 95 years old. I didn't realize he was still around, but apparently he still is. That song, I believe it was recorded like in 1952 or 1953 by Harry Belafonte. He didn't write it. Someone else wrote it, but he was the first one to really record it. Since then, it's been covered by a lot of people with some interesting connections here that I want to mention. Covered by the Fontaine sisters, Sarah Vaughan, jazz singer Sarah Vaughan, Steve Lawrence, one half of Steve and Edie, Steve Lawrence
Yep.
and Edie Gourmet, and Shirley Bassey, who was a very popular singer in the 50s and 60s.
Right.
And she was Welsh, best known for doing 3 different theme songs for the 007, the James
Right.
Bond movies. Yeah, she did Goldfinger, of course, my favorite, one of the best theme songs of all time. She also did Diamonds Are Forever and the theme song for Moonraker, which I can't remember. But I want to mention the Fontaine sisters. They were from New Jersey. Now they're way back. If you look up pictures of them, they're even before the Beehives trio type
Right.
singers of the 50s. And like the McGuire sisters that my grandmother used to listen to. They're from New Jersey. So they won a contest in New Jersey, and the promoters of the contest said, well, okay, we're going to get you some work because you won. So where'd they get them work? They sent them to Cleveland, Ohio. I can't believe it. And they got them work singing on radio stations back when radio stations had live performers.
Right.
So they would sing, they do commercials and all that kind of stuff. And then at night they were booked in Cleveland nightclubs, because Cleveland was a hotbed of music nightclubs for years and years, even before the rock era. It was a great jazz town. So I thought that was interesting. The poor Fontaine sisters, of course, as soon as rock and roll music came out, they were gone. They all got married and had families and said, thank you for remembering us on What in the World, if they're still around. So, and Shirley Bassey, why would she record the Dale song? I don't know. And one more, the Kellogg used the Dale song for a cereal commercial, and I don't even remember this cereal, Fruit and Fiber. Do you remember that
No.
cereal?
No.
It was back before we needed Fruit and Fiber, so
right.
That's why I don't remember it at all. But anyway, they did a parody of the song. So now this is a great one. One more animal story here. This one comes from Pakistan, and you may have seen this one on the national news as well. So this breeder in Pakistan, he breeds these special goats that have long ears, but this one is his new record holder. There's the goat.
Oh my
now,
God.
Isn't that cute? That's a baby goat. That kid is only a few weeks old. And for those of you that can't see it, each ear is longer than the goat's entire body. So he can stretch it backwards and it goes past the butt of the goat. He almost can't hold the ears wide enough with his arms to show how long they are. They're 21 inches long, each one of them. Excuse me.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's 42 inches. That plus the head.
The poor thing has to trip over them.
Oh, good point, Karen.
Yeah. Oh.
What he does is he's made a little harness for it, so he can kind of wrap them around this little harness on the goat's back, so they don't trip. That's exactly what happened. It steps on its ears. So he contacted the Guinness World Record people, and they said, well, we don't even have a world record for world's longest goat ears. So he could be the world record holder by default. He also, this was on the world news. So he got both a congratulatory letter and a sympathy card from Prince Charles. Not the guy, the goat, of course. Because if anybody's dealt with long ears all of his life, it's Prince Charles. So they're trying to figure out what to do with this goat. Obviously, he wants to keep it. He says maybe an earring company might want to hire it for promotional things, but he has to. They have special prayers that they pray for these goats that cast away the evil eye. apparently the evil eye affects these long-eared goats. I would
Okay.
think it would be an evil ear rather than an evil eye, but apparently it's
Yes.
the evil eye. So now, of course, you look at a goat like this, and the first thing you think of is this is a movie star right here. This should be a Disney movie character like Dumbo.
Yeah, he could
So,
fly with his ears.
fly with his ears, yeah, like the flying nun,
Yeah.
like Dumbo.
Yeah.
I was trying to come up with some ideas for what the theme of the movie might be. I think the flying the flying goat would be good. They can't call him Dumbo though. What would they
No,
call him?
no. Um,
I have an idea. While you're thinking about that, since he has giant ears, I thought they should call him Lobo, uh, which is also a name for a wolf. So that kind of wouldn't work. But I have the Disney movie. This is the goat will be starring in a new Disney movie called Beauty and the Bleat. Beauty and the Bleat.
Yes.
Now Bigfoot comes out of retirement and says he didn't like that one either.
You're saving the best for next week when John returns. I'm
Is
sure
that it? Okay,
Yeah,
we'll go with that. We'll go with that. All right, so this is another one you may have seen on the national news, but after I posted it on Facebook. There's a restaurant in Manhattan, Serendipity 3, it's called, on the Upper West Side. So, all you have to give is that address. It's an exclusive restaurant. It's offering its Guinness World Record most expensive French fries. They had to stop offering them during COVID because nobody wanted them. Karen, these French fries are $200 a plate. There's a plate of the French fries right there. Look fairly ordinary, don't they?
Yeah.
It's called the creme de la creme pomme frites, whatever, however you say that. I don't even care. They're French fries. They're made with chipperbeck potatoes, which apparently are some very rare potatoes. Dom Perignon champagne. I don't know what do they boil it in a champagne? No, they don't. They boil it in cage-free goose fat. Those little curly things up there are shaved black summer truffles from Italy. So you say truffle, it's expensive. You say shaved, that it must be expensive. They're only going to give you a little slice of it. And topped off, and that's what's falling down on it, that salt, topped off with 23 karat edible gold dust.
Oh my God.
Exactly. That's what I said. Now,
no.
they interviewed somebody who was in the restaurant who ordered it. They actually found somebody who ordered it. And he's munching down on them, and he says, they really taste bad. They're absolutely disgusting. He said, but it was worth the $200 just to watch the chef catch.
Unbelievable.
You can get them at the drive-through, but you have to be in a Rolls or a Ferrari, otherwise they won't serve you. And you know who bought these? Elon Musk.
Of
course, yeah. He went in to show off, and he couldn't just order one. He had to supersize them. So, yeah, but well, he can afford it, and he's not buying Twitter now. So, so. No, we like talking about world records on What in the World. So I've got a one world record for us here besides the goat. This guy, his name is Christian Cavalletti. You can figure it out. He's Italian from Italy. He has the world's largest collection of Pepsi cans, and he's holding his Guinness certificate in his hand along with a modern Pepsi can. This guy has 12,402 at the time of the article, 12,402 cans from all over the world, many limited edition. He's Pepsi. Remember the slogan Pepsi, for those who think young. For him, it's Pepsi. I think I need to add another room because I have too many cans. He's got them all over the place. He's got cans from 81 different countries. Every country apparently has different Pepsi cans, so he's got them from every place that it's canned. He's friends with Gary Feng, who, for Guinness World Record fans, holds the world record for the most Coca-Cola cans. only 11,308. So he's behind the Pepsi guy.
Sure.
He also has the very first Pepsi can ever issued. I wanted to show you a picture of it because it's a very odd conglomeration. Nothing looks other than the fact that it's round and made out of metal. It doesn't look like
It's
a
got a
Pepsi
cap
can.
on the top.
It has a bottle cap on
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it's like the top of the can is in the shape of a pyramid, and it has a bottle cap. They have a bottle cap on the top of it. It's like a mutant Pepsi can from
Yeah.
3 Mile Island or someplace. So I don't know. Is collecting Pepsi cans better or worse than the guy who collects the stones that stick in his shoe?
I don't know. Or my husband who collects computer parts.
Well, he can do a lot of that. If they're more than 5 years old, he can't do anything with them. I was going to say he could at least do something with those, but yeah. So that's the guy who collects Pepsi cans. 12,000 Pepsi cans.
Wow.
You know, you mentioned that your husband collects computer parts. I don't think he has 12,000 computer parts, does he?
I don't know. We have a full garage.
Okay, we better move on.
Yes.
Now, this story, this is a I don't know if this one was on the mainstream media, but it's a huge story in the paranormal world, which is where I hang out most of the week. But I wanted to tell it because for two reasons. One, it's very strange, has to do with Bigfoot. The other is the guy is a former Clevelander. So his name is Nathaniel Peterson, but he goes by Coyote Peterson. Have you ever heard? Do you watch the Animal Planet, Karen?
Not if I can help it.
Okay, good answer. So apparently this guy has been on the Animal Planet. He's also a big YouTuber, and he calls himself Coyote because he does videos about animals. He grew up in, well, before we get to that, so he's won a number of awards for his YouTube videos and for his shows. He claimed to have found either the skull of a giant ape or a Bigfoot in British Columbia, in an area that was flooded, and he found it in a stream. And I want to show you the picture of this skull and of him. So here he is pulling the skull out of the water, the muddy water. You know, I could have walked past here, any of us, and not seen this thing sticking out. But apparently he claims that he saw this thing sticking out. He posted on Facebook and on Twitter. He says, breaking news, warning, these pictures might be taken down by the government. This is footage of me removing this what looks like a giant ape or Bigfoot skull. I have the skull, I've hidden it. He's waiting for a primatologist to take a look at it. So he posted the photos. I want to show you another photo of it, one that's a little better. Oh, there he is. So now you can see, Karen, that does look like a gorilla or an apish, Bigfootish type of skull, doesn't it?
I have to look at it over here. I don't know if it's a skull. It looks sort of like flattish.
Kind of what?
It looks flat.
It looks flat. It does look flat. Well, the jaw part is missing in the back. But yeah, you're right. It's an odd looking thing. So he's keeping the location private because the location where he found it, because he doesn't want other people to go there and contaminate it, and he wants to go back and see if he can find some more. But he's really afraid that the government's going to come after him. So he said it's not a bear skull. He thought it was a bear, but it's not a bear. It's in the Pacific Northwest, which is, you know, if you know anything about Bigfoot, you know that area, Oregon and Washington State and British Columbia, are huge Bigfoot hotspots. Right. If you're Bigfoot and you want to hide, that's where you go. So anyway,
how did they get there? Did they take a plane, a train?
He took a bicycle. I don't know.
I'm talking about Bigfoot going to the north.
Oh, Bigfoot! How did Bigfoot get there? He walked on his big feet.
Yeah, he walks so slow, though.
Well, that. Have you ever? We don't show many videos on the show, but you're right. Yeah, normally when you see Bigfoot moving, it's moving very slowly.
Right.
Um, because doesn't have any shoes and he has to be careful where he steps.
For the stones.
Well, he has to look for stones. That's right. Picks them from between his toes and starts his own collection. I think I have one more picture while we talk about the skull. Yeah. Okay. Now there's a
okay.
A better photo of it. So you can see the big eye sockets and the heavy brow of an apish like thing. So as I mentioned before, I want to talk a little bit about this guy. His name is Nathaniel Peterson. He grew up in Newberry, Ohio, which is east of Cleveland. They call it a rural area. I'm not sure if it's rural, but he went to Cathedral Latin High School, the Catholic high school in Cleveland. He says he took an interest in animals when he was young. And he was inspired by his mother. So I can just imagine. I remember my mother when I was doing stuff with animals or doing anything, she'd say, "Stop running around like a wild animal." So I don't know if that's what his mother said that inspired him or what. But so he attended Notre Dame Cathedral Latin. Then he went to Ohio State, but not as a scientist or a biologist. He went as a filmmaker. And he graduated with a degree in filmmaking from The Ohio State University. And started posting videos of animals, excuse me, on YouTube. Now, he became famous, and we've probably talked about him. I didn't know who he was at the time, but he became famous by letting insects sting him. He'd get giant insects and let them sting him all over his body, especially like the giant Asian murder wasp that we've talked about, murder hornets. Which apparently made him dance around and scream and yell. So he's become famous for that. So is this a Bigfoot skull or not? So people are already commenting on it that looks more like an ape, but a lot of people are saying it looks like a plaster copy of an ape skull. And that one photo, the first photo, I believe, has a interesting little feature on it. Now, right near the water, there's a very well defined round circle, like a hole, that some people said could be a bullet hole, could be an arrow, but people in the know said no, that was drilled through it, a plaster head, in order to put it on a stand and put it in a store on display so people could buy it. So that's the prevailing theory. Now, he has not released his report from a primatologist yet, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. We got to stick. We Clevelanders have to stick together. But that's the prevailing theory, is that it's a fake. The other thing people said was that the scene looked like it was staged, and I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
I don't think so.
It wasn't very widescreen. And he, like you said, I don't know how he got there, let alone Bigfoot. That's all that he found. So if it were me and I found a skull, I'd immediately go digging all over the place to find a foot or a femur or anything. But the biggest problem is that technically, if he took it out of the country, he was breaking federal laws, Canadian laws and U.S. laws, because it was in a national park. And you're not supposed to take stuff out of a national park. You're not supposed to take animal parts across country lines unless you have a permit. So he violated a few laws if he really did that. So I'd like to see the report. That's what I would like to see. If he has a primatologist, a real scientist, take a look at it and do a DNA test on it, then I'll pay more attention. But
okay.
But anyways, Coyote Peterson, that's his name. Cathedral Latin, good little Catholic boy from Cleveland, Ohio. I assume he's Catholic. I don't think you have to. It's mandatory to be Catholic to attend a Catholic school anymore, because they're as desperate as all the other schools. Speaking of desperate, let's move on to another story here. So one of the things, Karen, it doesn't always come out on the show, but Karen is a well-known music lover. She's a music expert. A number of her podcasts have to do with music. So this story I thought for sure you would like,
Okay.
especially from our age group. This is about Dave Davies, who was the co-founder of the Kinks. The Kinks was a musical group. They were founded like around 1962, 63 by Ray Davies and Dave Davies. Ray was the older brother. Dave was the younger brother. Ray was the lead singer. Dave was the guitar player. So now you know. In 1963, they put the band together. They immediately had a hit with I can't remember the name of the song. You Really Got Me. You Really Got Me. That was their first big hit. And their career just exploded from there. And I don't have any photos. I'm going to take this down here. So they're members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So they've been inspirational to a lot of other bands. So Dave Davies just wrote his new memoir. This is his second memoir. And he revealed that he had a sexual encounter involving aliens, and not just the usual probing kind either. But he said that they took over his sex life in order to take him to a, quote, higher vibrational level.
Wow.
I know. Yeah, that sounds like something Brian Wilson would say with the Beach Boys, but this was Dave Davies.
Sounds like something my husband would like to happen to him.
Oh, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. We're going to move on.
Okay.
What was the most famous song by the Kinks was Lola. Lola, Lola, which was about a cross-dresser. And during the story, I'll mention it ahead of time. Dave Davies was not the cross-dresser, nor was he the person who mistook the cross-dresser for a woman. But it plays a part in the story. So they recorded "You Really Got Me." They were huge in the British invasion. Dave was the electronics guy, so he came up with all the great guitar riffs and feedback and distortion that the Kinks were well known for. So they did Lola, You Really Got Me, Tired of Waiting for You, Set Me Free. Great songs, the usual kind. Boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy finds another girl. That's what rock was back in those days. But his life was nothing like that. So he says when he was 15 years old, he was kicked out of school for having sex with his girlfriend. He got caught. I don't know where, if he was in the classroom or cloakroom, as they call it in England. And in his first memoir, which was called Kinky, I think, he revealed that he is bisexual, but he's not a cross-dresser. But Lola wasn't about him either. It was about the band's manager who accidentally was dancing with a cross-dresser at a bar. Back before it was cool to do that, I guess, now we all do it. I do every once a week.
I can
anyway,
see you. I can see you going out dancing once a week.
But in his new one, which is titled I'll get Living on a Thin Line, which is another song, a 1984 song. So he says, I've had several experiences seeing UFOs. It was really interesting. Saw them in North Devon and UFO hotspot, by the way. Lights in the sky. But then he started digging deeper into his experiences, and he realized he started getting communications from aliens. So he thinks they may be from the Dog Star, from Sirius, which is a great connection to a musician. Sirius is the music, the paper listen music channel. So anyways, he says in 1980, they started communicating with him in 1982 when he was on tour in the U.S., which is the last tour of the Kinks. And he refers to them as the intelligences because they're intelligent. And the first encounter was in Virginia. So they're doing a concert in Virginia. He says, things got weird very quickly. I felt oddly disembodied, like I was looking in from the outside. Couldn't understand why I was feeling so peculiar. I didn't feel ill. That was different. Suddenly I had a feeling like a boa constrictor had wrapped itself around my forehead and was pressing hard. So it sounds like he was using drugs, right? Not that he's having
Sort of. Yep.
extraterrestrial experience. But anyways, so then he says, it was like my brain flicked on a new psychic switch. After the initial jolt, I didn't feel panicked or alarmed. The voices had a commanding presence, but non-threatening, calming. I was overwhelmed. I began to feel their presence. His nostrils, this is a great, my nostrils filled with different smells, nothing unpleasant. The smells of fresh flowers like jasmine and magnolia had a fragrance so full, I felt like I could have scooped them up with a spoon. Now, that sounds like a song lyric right there, a Carole King song, clouds in my car, or the other one, Joan, was
Judy
married to James
Collins?
Taylor. Carol, yeah, the other one. Oh, I'm so embarrassed because she's one of my favorite singers. Anyway, she did Anticipation and Carly Simon.
Yes.
Sounds like a Carly Simon song. So he says he was in bed when one of this happened with his then girlfriend Nancy. So he's in bed. So this sounds like something that would get you in the mood. So he reaches over and he says the voices slammed into him and said, "No, you no longer can have sex." He says they told him that he would be able to walk normally, but his groin and pelvis became numb, blocking all sensation. The reason they told him was that they wanted to transmute his sexual energy to a higher vibration level. So I don't think your husband wants that.
No, I don't think so. No.
So the guy that was interviewing him asked, "Well, what do you think it is?" And this is the mysterious part. Dave Davies clammed up and refused to answer, other than to say that he was afraid of the government, that he could be part of an experiment, or he doesn't want to reveal something that the government may want him to hide. A very, very strange answer. So I don't know. I find it interesting that a lot of rock stars have had UFO experiences. John Lennon, Keith Richards, Ronnie Wood. I could go on and on. I have a list of them.
Could that have something to do with drugs and rock and roll?
Go, Karen, you're so cynical.
I mean, somebody has to be.
I agree. However, my alternative theory to that is that creative people may have an opening in their brain that allows them to tap into stuff that's out there that other people aren't able to tap into. And it's why someone can sit down at a piano and 15 minutes later has a song that's a number one hit for years. Okay, that's just not normal. No, normal people can't do that. So there's various explanations. I think that's one of them, is that there's a creative people have an attachment to some at some subconscious level, and it could be that aliens are speaking at that level as well, if you believe that there's aliens. All I know is the Kinks, that was the greatest music that there ever was in the 60s and 70s, and I think if aliens like the Kinks, I like aliens.
Absolutely.
I think that's just it. So I want to throw this in real quick here, because since we're talking about music, and we talked about Elvis, and I just happened to see this. This is a collection of trivia about Elvis and Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell is married to Goldie Hawn. Okay, great actor, been around for years. He was a Disney actor way back when. It turns out Kurt Russell and Elvis have a unique connection. The first and only time Kurt Russell and Elvis worked together was on the 1963 film. It happened at the World's Fair. And Kurt Russell was a little kid. Elvis was, of course, an adult. In one scene, this little boy, Kurt Russell, ran up to Elvis and kicked him in the shin. And the plot was that Elvis paid the kid to do it because he wanted to meet the nurse. And that's how he was going to do it. So that was the plot. Kurt Russell says that he didn't want to kick Elvis because this was Elvis, you don't kick the king.
Right, exactly.
And Elvis says, no, it's okay. And he gave him $5. That was his pay for the movie. So that was the only time that Kurt Russell and Elvis ever met. Fast forward to 1979, Elvis has already passed away. 1979, 2 years after Elvis died, Kurt Russell played Elvis in the made-for-television biographical film called Elvis. And so he did a great job. He won like a Golden Globe and Emmy Awards and all kind of stuff. So he obviously learned something from being with Elvis on that brief moment.
Right.
It happened at the World's Fair. Fast forward to Forrest Gump, 1994. So in Forrest Gump, the young Forrest Gump meets Elvis. So they have somebody else playing Elvis, not Kurt Russell. And Forrest Gump allegedly taught Elvis a dance move, if you remember the movie. And during the movie, Elvis is singing, but it's not the actor. They use Kurt Russell's voice from the Elvis movie because for some reason, he sounded better than Elvis, which I find hard to believe. So then you flash forward to 2001. There's a movie called 3,000 Miles to Graceland, and it starred Kurt Russell and Kevin Costner as two guys who rob a casino in Las Vegas during, get this, an Elvis impersonator convention. And at the beginning of the film, Kurt Russell is walking up to the convention and a little boy runs up and kicks him in the shin. And he put that in there just to complete the cycle of the connection between Kurt Russell and Elvis. I thought that was such an interesting connection. Absolutely. That just popped up on my feed, and I thought, wow, I want to shove that in the show someplace. So we don't have John with sports, so we're going to go right to Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game played all over the world. So you know how it goes. I've got 3 weird stories, like the ones we've been talking about all afternoon. One difference. Not all of them are true. Some may be bluffs. All of them may be bluffs. We don't know. It's up to Karen. It's up to you playing at home on listening to the podcast to decide which is real, which is a bluff. We allow wagering. Place your bet. Karen, John said that he'll be playing on the honor system. So that means he gets them all wrong. So let's go. Hands on the buzzer. By the way, there's a theme to all 3 of these stories.
Okay.
You'll get it after the second one. Story number 1. If you hate going to the dentist and having your teeth cleaned with that miniature meat hook, help may be on the way. Engineers at a college in Pennsylvania have developed a system of micro robots that can change shape to form either bristles or floss that will crawl all over your teeth while the dentist controls them with magnets. After the bristle robots brush, the floss robots go in between your teeth and clean out what they missed. Then both micro robots change shape again and squirt out antibacterial toothpaste to kill anything left that they missed. Then it's rinse, spit, and you're on your way. If you happen to swallow some of the dental micro robots, don't worry. They'll do the same cleanup job on their way out too.
Oh.
So, dental micro robots that take the place of that meat hook, the floss, and toothpaste. The next big thing in your dentist office. What do you say, Karen? Real or bluff?
I hope it's a bluff because I don't need robots brushing my teeth and taking care of my teeth. Like, really?
Well, they're little tiny. They're micro robots.
Even so.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to say it's a bluff.
Do you like going to the dentist?
I don't mind.
Don't mind. I don't mind either. I don't mind either. I feel the same way. But I think it'd be fun to have little micro robots crawling around in my mouth. We do a show on it. Okay, so Karen says the micro robots, the shape-shifting micro robots that clean, floss, and put antibacterial on your teeth is a bluff. John says it's real. He'll disagree with Karen. Let's take a look at what the judges have to say. And the judges say, sorry, Karen, good news for John. That's a real story.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they're testing them as we speak. So you could possibly, even the next time you go to the dentist, if your dentist is one of those progressive types, ask for the micro robot treatment.
Oh my God.
Then they'll take out the really big meat hook.
Yeah.
To punish you. Okay, so Karen is behind. The score is 0.
I am.
Let's get right to story number 2. You know you shouldn't flush your goldfish down the commode because some of them can survive and end up growing into giant mutant goldfish that live in our sewer systems. Unfortunately, it may be too late to get rid of them. A sanitation worker in France was inspecting a sewer underneath Paris when he felt something biting through his thick rubber boot. When he grabbed it and pulled it off, he was holding a giant mutant goldfish that looked like it had grown a set of human teeth. The worker found a bag and carried it out. The fish was sent to a local aquarium where a biologist thinks that the goldfish genes were altered by the fluoride being washed down our sinks every time we brush our teeth. So far, this is the only mutant goldfish with human teeth found, but French sewer workers are pulling their boots higher and watching out for more of them. Okay, so the giant mutant goldfish with teeth in the sewers of France that is caused by fluoride buildup in our sewers. Real or bluff?
Well, I see the connection here, all about teeth. So, hey, I'm getting that.
Okay, you get a half a point for that one.
And I don't think goldfish have teeth. Okay,
It's
I'm
hard
going
to
to go
tell
with,
because they're so small unless
yeah. You know more than you lead on. But I'm going to say it's a bluff.
Oh, Karen says it's a bluff, that you can't see goldfish teeth, so it's a bluff. And they can't, do you think that they could mutate somehow or?
Oh, I'm sure they could, but I still say it's a bluff.
Okay, Karen says it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, congratulations, that is a bluff.
Woo!
Very good. All right, so that means the score is 1 for Karen. Now points are doubled in round number 3, so you could just blow through here and really
Yeah.
3 points.
Yeah. Well, no, John got the first point. I didn't.
John got the first one. He missed this one, obviously. Okay, so the score's tied 1-1. All right, so let's get right to story number 3. Obviously, Karen figured it out that teeth are is the theme of these stories. So if you sometimes find yourself too tired to brush your teeth before going to bed, the government of Bolivia has a solution. In order to help Bolivian farmers get out of the cocaine business, it is subsidizing a new program to make toothpaste out of the same coca leaves used to make cocaine, and that Bolivians like to chew as a stimulant. The coca toothpaste is said to have all the medicinal and nutritional benefits of the coca plant, but none of its narcotic properties. 4 out of 5 Bolivian dentists surveyed recommend the coca toothpaste over chewing coca leaves because the toothpaste has added fluoride and a fresh minty flavor. All right, so in Bolivia, they're making toothpaste out of coca leaves. What do you say, Karen? Real or bluff? Help the poor farmers get out of the cocaine business.
You know, why not? I mean, it's just another business. I'm going to say it's a true story.
Karen says it's a true story. Would you use coca leaves toothpaste?
I like my traditional Crest or Colgate.
I was going to say, everybody has a favorite toothpaste, but no one really varies for years and for decades, probably. I'm sure I've been using the toothpaste that I use for decades. We're loyal toothpaste users. So yeah, it'd be tough to switch to any toothpaste, let alone one made that cocaine from coca leaves.
When I was growing up, my girlfriend's family used Ipana. And
there's an old one.
I wanted to use it, but my parents said no, it wasn't.
Oh,
kosher. Yeah, it wasn't kosher.
That's an old one. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What's the one with all the different Aquafresh? Never mind.
Aquafresh.
No, we're not supposed to go on a tangent when we're on Bluff the Co-host.
That's true.
Okay, so Karen says that's a real story. Coca leaf toothpaste is a real story. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, congratulations, Karen, that is a real story. And you win this week with a grand total of 3 points. How about
John.
that?
John's
Poor
going to have
John.
to study with Annette.
I know. I'll send him a text to let him know that he lost. He sent me a text. He said he'd be thinking about this show and especially about Bluff the co-host. So
Oh,
I
I'm
know
sure. Yeah.
he's not gonna want to know that he was he lost in absentia, or whatever the word is, that he's not here. So I think that's the end of another edition of what in the world of puns. We may have set a record for puns on this show. So I want to thank Karen, as always, our co-host Karen Hale, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net. Please go there, check out all the podcasts that Karen has. They're great. They're interesting. Podcasts you won't hear anyplace else. They're unusual. What in the world, of course, is the most unusual, and we hope that you agree with that. And we're glad that you join us every week. We did a shout out to my buddy Les last week, and he was listening, so he did a shout back. He said he'd never gotten a shout out before in his life.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
So, if you want a shout out, let me know. Send Karen an email. Send me a message on Facebook. Let us know. Our buddy Mark down in Austin, I always hear from him. So please do. And thank you again for listening. We're here on Tuesdays live at 3:30, but you can catch us anytime, stream us anytime you want on your favorite platform. And I believe that's about it. So I will say see you next week.